Shalom YouTube! Nintendo Gen 64 is here, and welcome to part 3 of the history of I'm A Speedrunner. Today we're going to be talking about I'm A Speedrunner 7 and I'm A Speedrunner 8 and the years 2012 and 2013 and what they meant for the community at large. And to help me discuss these enormous topics, I have a million guest commentators, as they used to say. And here they are. Look, my million guest commentators. We have Chris. I'll get this right. Crystal Fissure, Al Malloy, Connor David, Yoga Monyo, and Kicker Bon. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the
Shalom, YouTube.
Yes, that's my. I did that for Yoga Monyo because he loves it when I say that, and that's a long time reference to our good friend Crash Bandy Spyro 12, who I think he may have not have ever said it, but I think we said it as a reference to his Israeli heritage. But anyway, so...
Well, I say, Angus, I'm very glad that you got it zoomed right in my face so everyone can see every pore and acne spot and receding hairline that I have. I really do appreciate you zooming right into the face.
That looks better there.
Yeah.
I can
right into the yoga
if you want. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to talk about I'm A Speedrunner 7 and I'm A Speedrunner 8. And I think when we left this podcast on the last edition, we were talking about I'm A Speedrunner 6 and about sort of how the community kind of fell into a bit of a drift. There was a drift. We kind of called it the end of an era. We ended with the Spyro tournament, and I just kind of wanted to start this part off by talking about the kinds of happenings that were going on around the start of 2012. And I thought I might bring Yoga Monyo into this to start off, because he's our first new guest. And I thought I'd get maybe your insight into sort of... Because I can't recall if you were in I'm A Speedrunner 6 or not. But I thought maybe it'd be good to just have your sort of hot takes on things. So tell us, how was your 2012? How did it get started?
Well, I recall my actual 2012 being shit. Like in real life and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure I was in I'm A Speedrunner 6. I know that. I want to say, I don't know if I got knocked out immediately or if I got knocked out a little bit in the tournament, but that was like my fourth tournament at the time. I only missed, I think, 4 and 1 at that point. But it was a weird time because at that time I was there was like there was a whole bunch of cliques, in on Skype. There was like a whole bunch of groups of people, and I was with the Americans. There was the British meanies, and then there were the Americans, and I was really in that group of people. I don't think I really spoke much to you guys too much at the time, the like Australian crew, and I guess like the main IAS crew, the main Crass crew, you could say.
The Crass crew.
But I was with I spoke a lot to Matt, as you guys have already established, he was talking to you guys all the time.
This is Crash41596 who left a lovely comment on the last part to clarify the situation with him and Rabid Wombat JR. But yeah, he was I guess he never slept or something. Maybe if he was watching this, he can confirm or deny if he ever slept.
Yeah, that
he was on good. All the time.
Yeah, because he was like an integral part of that early community throughout he was in a lot of tournaments too. He was in almost every single one for since he joined, for a while at least. I don't know which ones he missed offhand, but
yeah, he was there from I'm A Speedrunner 3. I don't think he was in 4, and this is what we talked about in the last part, was that we capitalized on the hottest tournament in history by the coldest tournament in history, essentially, which was I don't know, arguably a very stupid thing to do. But yeah, because honestly, I remember Yoga. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but yeah, you were around, but you were kind of adjacent to us. There was definitely this weird Americans versus you all mentality for some reason. Why were we so
it really was.
Why were we like that, Christian? Why were we so in hatred of the Americans?
Yeah, that was the thing. I remember Yoga on. You can
just call me Josh if you want.
It was so amazing in this new tournament that we're talking again. But there was a point where the communities all split, and this was the kind of apex of that, the IAS6, IAS7, where the communities all kind of split up. and they all kind of kept in their lane, I guess.
It's very very simple. It's just people are just friends with people, and they happen to gravitate to the country that they're from. It's just there's different the personalities between someone that's from from Britain, I guess, and the Americans. It's just a different type of humor and different type of person, and
different type of
you know,
time zone as well, I guess.
Yeah,
That's important. The time zones.
Yeah.
But
it really doesn't deserve any more
airtime. I wanted to
airtime.
talk about here, because we're sort of in this kind of pre IAS7, like post IAS6 thing we're talking about, where people were like, I guess, getting more, and we spoke about this in the last part, but I think from my perspective, the key element that was going on at this time was that we kind of had found our friend groups, and we weren't so interested in like the tertiary characters. Like, I think especially by this point in time, we didn't really care about trolling sagas. We didn't care about trolling Nasty Nork 97. We were more interested in conversations, deep, meaningful conversations with people we really liked. So much so, and I have a video to share because this wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't have a video. So much so that we actually started physically meeting up. Now, I want to share with you guys. This is a very, very significant video. This is the first time that Crystal Fissure and myself ever met up, and we have it on camera. We have the luxury of having this on camera. So check this out. This is from April 7th, 2012, and I'll just quickly jump into it so I have it teed up for when he actually does show up. Because he only shows up for some reason in like the last 30 seconds of the video, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But, all right. Check this out. This is from. We were at Ratchet 5's house for Easter 2012, and this is the actual like physical meeting up of ourselves. All right, check this out.
I love this video.
Wait, is Jack here? Is he?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Jack,
oh my god!
He's a mutant, isn't he?
Oh, what a! You're going the wrong way.
How old is he?
Oh my
I
god!
reckon he's 50 years old.
Look who it is!
No, I'm 14.
Angus, I have to shake your hand the other way. Other way.
And who is this? This is Rebel Woman JR. Oh yes. How you going? I'm going to protect my identity,
Exactly, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Who can I body slam here? There he is.
Love how like normally agree. I don't know. I just like that.
Andrew's just like, oh, good to meet you, and then you see Ratchet 5 with a bag over his head saying,
Right.
with question mark.
So that's actually an interesting point. So that was meant to be the reason why he was wearing a bag over his head is because Rabid Wombat JR was meant to join us for that meetup in April 2012, Easter 2012, and he wasn't there. He said he couldn't be bothered, and essentially after we all started meeting up in person, that was kind of it for him. He kind of fell off and kind of disappeared from like calls and disappeared from conversations, and I think fell in with his own separate niche because we're talking about people, the community being segregated by geography, but it was also separated by interests too as well. It was separated by interest in speedruns, interest in like movies, not so much, but interest in being an American, because the Americans were so fascinated with being Americans, they had to all get together and talk about how American they were.
I mean, Joker, to this day, won't shut the fuck up about being American. I'm sure this podcast will be half of it.
Oh, I can't wait for the Americans' take on it. But yeah, like, so that was kind of the atmosphere at the time, I guess. And I would like to like kind of talk about, from your guys' perspectives, what did you think about like these kind of meetups and this kind of stuff? Like, what was like your general kind of like a feeling on that? I'll go with Christian. He's got.
Well, I say, as the pioneer of the meetup with me and John, Mr. 100% Gamer in Eurogamer 2011. Yeah, it was a massive thing when the Aussies met up. I remember when you had a Where is Rabbit Wombat JR? You had a video series.
Let's search for
Al, stop laughing.
JR.
Al's laughing. You can't see him on camera, but he's
There he is. There he is.
He's stifling a laugh right now. But like, you had a Where is Rabid Wombat JR? You had a you had a video where you like went to a KFC and started harassing the kind patrons of one of the many Adelaide KFCs.
Actually,
where you
that was in
said,
Sydney.
do you know Rabid Wombat JR? And they were very confused and upset.
Which was a
I'm
weird
sure some
joke on the
cried.
fact that he didn't
Like,
want to meet up with us, basically.
But yeah, I mean, like the old community meetups, it was it was a big thing because we were all like we were all kids in our sort of late teens, early 20s, and it was a big deal to meet up people that that you met on Skype and all that, and it's it forged friendships that last to this day. Like of course, Angus, Andrew, you're running. The channel that we're doing this podcast on,
It
and
wouldn't have happened. I mean, we literally started this podcast, this channel on a meetup as well, which is the cool part. And
exactly,
we met up with all three of you guys actually, except for Yoga. That's the next one. And next time we come to,
I was gonna say, sorry, just quickly, like me, Al, Connor, we all met up as well. What was it, nearly 2 years ago now? Where Connor spilled an entire latte all over his lap.
Oh, Connor!
Connor,
that didn't have. Sorry, that was that's a kind of in meme. He didn't actually do that. He just got a tiny drop. But like the joke is we.
Christian tried the Irish sport of hurling and failed miserably at it.
Well, exactly that.
See, I wouldn't put it past Connor.
On blast there, but like, the community meetups were a big deal, and they all kind of happened at this time.
They were like, I remember, I mean,
the apex of them.
For Yoga and Christian, you might be fans of. Remember the old like that guy with the glasses website, Nostalgia Critic, and that. And I remember when they would like do their anniversary films, they would kind of do a similar thing where they'd all get together and film like crossovers and things like that, and it was a real novelty in those days to see like it's like, oh my god, it's like Crystal Fissure and Ratchet 5 together, it's like Nostalgia Critic and the Cinema Snob together or whatever. So that's kind of like the general malaise or whatever. I shouldn't say malaise is a negative connotation. That's the general vibe of the place at the start of 2012. Now we're going to talk about I'm a Speedrunner 7, and I think it's the appropriate starting point for talking about I'm a Speedrunner 7 is not what you think it is. Now, recently we uncovered a hidden gem that is on the old Spyro Speedruns channel, and this was actually uploaded right around the time of the actual 5th I'm a Speedrunner tournament. So, 6 months earlier? 6 months before?
Yeah.
And it actually features our good friend Al Malloy talking about what he wants I'm a Speedrunner 7 to be. So, I'll just play a quick excerpt from it, and I'd like to actually... I haven't actually read the comments on this yet, but I'd actually like to read the comments, and like we can maybe have a laugh at it, because I'm sure there's going to be some good shit in those comment sections. So let's just quickly watch this one, real quick. Here we go.
Good day, YouTube. Dave HG13 is here, making an announcement video for Spyro Speedruns. As you know, IAS6 is going to be a Spyro tournament, and that will be held during the winter time for us Europeans and Americans, and during the summer for Australians. However, IAS7 will be occurring after that, and Ratchet 5 may be unable to host that tournament. We're not sure yet, but he says he could be a bit too busy to host that. And if that be the case, then yours truly, the FH13, will be hosting IAS7, much to the delight of some and the anger of others, I am sure. If that is the case, then I really personally do not want to be hosting a Crash Bandicoot tournament, because the way it has gone recently is that there will be a Spyro tournament during the winter/summer and a Crash.
Sounds good.
So what Al was talking about there was, he was talking about the fact that I'm a Speedrunner 6 was going to be Spyro, and that I'm a Speedrunner 5 had just been Crash Bandicoot, and he was saying that it's bullshit that we keep doing Spyro and Crash, and he wanted to do something different, something new, because I guess it was like you were sick of tying with Matt or tying with Crash 1596, and you wanted to not draw with him. No, why were you sick of Spyro and Crash, though?
Well, first of all, Matt and I were very good friends. Second of all, I think I remember specifically trying to be very diplomatic in that video, and just like I was trying so hard to not say something like this is bullshit or like fuck this. I remember trying to be very diplomatic throughout. So I think that was the idea, and then I mentioned I said Disney should be the next tournament, right? Is what I said?
That's why you said Disney. It should be Disney.
Okay, right, grand. Yeah, sorry. I genuinely, this is where as I've mentioned before, my memory does get fuzzy, but I remember speaking with Ratchet about it and just he was cool with it as well, like because he wasn't going to. It's something like he wasn't going to host the next one or
It's
something.
because he
along
was
those
going
lines.
into his last year of high school and he had
Yes.
exams. That was it.
Thank you, Connor. Exactly. So I think that's why I was like, well, I'll do IAS7 then. So yeah, which didn't really end up happening, but I guess I really wanted it to happen because yeah, then Ratchet I think ended up he ended up hosting it anyway, so it was fine. But yeah, I was trying
Yeah,
to.
Also,
let's just have a
it
look.
was a.
Oh, sorry, Christian, go ahead.
Also, I was going to say it's a fantastic idea to do Disney as well because it was a breath of fresh air that was desperately needed in the tournaments. I remember I was really against the idea of more than one tournament a year. I thought it was make an annual thing and it mattered. And there was a big issue with the tournaments being kind of diluted by being so frequent. You know, the tournaments used to be a big deal in the community where everyone sort of got together and had the they were the catalyst of the sort of 12-hour long Skype calls and all that sort of all that fun stuff. And I felt like it was being diluted by just being every year.
And I guess that was the thing though.
Being
for 6 months before this one, like the IAS7 was Al proposed it in like August 2011. IAS6
it's
in December, and then there wasn't a 7 for months.
Yeah, it was but part of the problem was it was all Spyro and Crash, so it was kind of like obviously was it the fourth one which was Ratchet and Clank, but it was always Spyro Crash, and it was there's a big push to like every 3 months or whatever. IAS7 was a big turning point of it, not just being Spyro and Crash, and it kind of being the acknowledgement of, even if the timeline doesn't match up, the acknowledgement of that it should be an event and it should be kind of like not a continual sort of thing. So like it was a big sort of
not going through the motions, I guess, because that's what I guess
exactly.
If you wanted to point a complaint at I'm a Speedrunner 6, it was definitely a going through the motions kind of tournament. Like especially from the standpoint that there was no innovation, there was no like new shit happening. It was just kind of like it's the third of the Spyro tournaments. It's like, oh fuck, another Spyro tournament.
That's the thing. I did a speedrun of Lego Racers in IS7. I did a speedrun of Fisher Price Perfect Fit.
A perfect fit.
Andrew, do it. For the NES on a 3G modem where my voice was cracking up every 5 seconds. It was the tournament where we had fun rather than play by all the rules.
Check this
out.
It was
a real kind of like.
So this is the comment section, right? Look at this. To be perfectly honest, I think Disney games are stupid. Sorry to anyone who loves the concept of turning a Disney game into a game, but I think it's stupid.
That's Dodgeball. He was big in there. He was part of one of the original meetups as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Dodgeball.
Yeah, with me. Yeah, back.
What do you think about Al? What do you think about that, Al? Your idea being completely shot down by Sludgeball.
Didn't bother me.
No, it didn't bother you.
It sounds like it bothers you. It sounds like you're moulding quite a bit.
I personally liked the idea. I think Spyro and Crash has played before, very good at it. They've been speedruns hundreds of times. So this is what we were talking about. This is what we're talking about, right? It's like, each Disney game was different, and I think we were also all. And Fraser brought this up actually in the last part, but I think we were all like let's playing Disney games, and we can't understate how important the let's plays were to the community as well, because we did a lot of let's plays around this time, and especially Crystal Fissure, who I have to give credit to, like, really bringing these sort of like games from our childhood into the forefront of our minds, like Monsters Inc. Scare Island, like Lilo and Stitch Trouble in Paradise, like Toy Story 2. So yeah, like let's talk about that. Let's talk about I'm a Speedrunner 7. Let's talk about the 7th I'm a Speedrunner tournament, because for the first time ever, I think there was a large gap of like, I want to say 7 or 8 months in between tournaments before I'm a Speedrunner 7 started. I know 22 minutes into this part, it's a bit weird to be starting to talk about I'm a Speedrunner 7, because it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? But
wasn't it also voted for Disney? Like, wasn't it a vote tournament?
It was, yeah.
I think it was like Jack and Daxter, because I think I remember I voted for Jack and Daxter. Then there was Disney, and I want to say Ratchet and Clank had a rebound. And I don't know if there was another
It
series
was
thrown in.
GTA was from
GTA, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Disney slightly won to. I want to say Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank, I think, almost was played again.
Ratchet and Clank once again lost out second in a vote, which was it's kind of ironic in a way.
I think people were done with Ratchet and Clank though. That was what I kind of got. I don't think people cared too much about Ratchet and Clank by that point, and especially because I don't think you know the tournament of Ratchet and Clank didn't do so well, you know. So, but yeah, I'm a Speedrunner 7. It was but where I lost you guys. There you go. It was back in it was in what it was when it started, July.
July.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the exact date here.
Sorry,
July 1st,
I'm just laughing
2012.
in the background.
And it went to August 25th, 2012. So that was about, like, what, 2 months or something like that? Let's talk about this tournament, because this is the tournament that really, it changed the game, as so to speak. It changed, was it everything changed? And Crystal Fisher and I were talking about this before. I was saying to him, and we were kind of in agreement, that this is exactly what the community needed. Because, as you say, we're all kind of drifting apart. And this kind of brought everyone back together because it's like, what the fuck is this?
It brought together the. We were drifting as the old British Meanies group. We had a podcast called Crashcast where we talked about video games, and we drifted apart from I'm a Speedrunner. But IAS7 brought us back in. The Subpixel, who was one of our
he was not in I'm A
co-hosts.
7.
Was he not?
He was in 8.
He was 8. Okay.
I have the list here. Check this out.
He considered joining 7.
This is the list.
Is what I would say.
I know I'm not in here.
It was where kind of like the sub communities all started to diverge back into a single community, even if just for a bit. It was the start of it, if not the main event. But like
there were some odd names here too. Like
it was when we really had fun with the format, and we just.
So this is actually, I have a list here of the games that we played in this tournament. It's a very interesting list. I'll share it with my friends here. It is. So we got Toy Story 2. Everyone played Toy Story 2. Monsters Inc. Scare Island, Toy Story Racer, Muppet Monster Adventure was played in this tournament for the first time. Emperor's New Groove, Tarzan. I mean, actually, this list looks like a list of Crystal Fisher Let's Plays, if I'm being perfectly honest.
It really does.
I mean,
to be fair, Toy Story 2 makes the most sense to be speedrun. I feel like everybody played that game back in the day.
The game.
I didn't actually.
But like, it was. I don't think even Muppets were. I mean, they weren't owned by Disney at the time, but
No, they were.
No.
That's why they qualified.
We were just like, you know what, we want to play it. Let's go. No, it was the first tournament where the rules were thrown to the wall, and we just had fun with the format.
Yes, and I want to bring this up too. This was the return of the drama, which I loved too, because I don't know what happened to Yogamonia. He's like frozen on my screen. Oh, there we go. So let's have a look at this. There is a very famous incident that happened in I'm A Speedrunner. So I'm A Speedrunner 7 was it was like a year. Everyone had sort of matured up, and everyone was cool and everything. But then there was an incident. Crystal Fisher, do you want to talk about the incident with City Ruler 1 and the school?
Yes, of course. City Ruler incident. So I think we established this back in IAS6, but we weren't really doing it on purpose, but we were kind of turning the talk shows into a little bit of like a shit talking session, right? So kind of we were doing them in a way that was a bit taking the piss, and we started having, there was obviously awards that were established from before, worst runner, stuff like that, like, basically parameters and awards that really aren't deserved and really, encouraged alienating people. It was definitely a flaw. And this all came to a head when I'm going to distance myself from this slightly, but you and Ratchet, made the idea to just absolutely crap on City Ruler 1 the entire talk show, and basically give him every negative award, every negative connotation, about his speedrunning ability, because I believe he was trolling or being he was doing something that had come to you guys' annoyance. And so this all came to a head where, we gave him the awards for everything bad. And we said things along the lines of, he should be put up against a wall and shot, because of his speedrunning ability or lack thereof. And City Ruler 1 did not take that well. Let's just say that.
And I guess that was one thing to note. But I'll quickly before we move on, we'll talk about the groups. I think because there's lots of fun things about these groups. This is a very brief footnote of drama, but I like that. I won't play the video. Oh yeah, I'll play the video on mute, I guess.
So before we get that, Al wants to talk about as well. His group,
hold on. I know.
Which was. Are you going to do that first?
This is our gracious host of I'm a Speedrunner 7. I'll just play this on mute, but he's basically City Ruler 1 contacted this man's school and was almost going to get him expelled because of the comments of cyberbullying. So he had to do an apology video. I just like the comments on this, like, people didn't really know what was going on, and it's like,
eat the player, good lord.
Planet Rocking good lord, it's a long story.
We weren't happy. We really weren't happy with the City Ruler.
Oh no.
Imagine 5 apologizes for the jokes he made about City Ruler 1 in the last talk show, hoping City Ruler 1, who may or may not be offended. What? Hold on a sec. What? Who may or may not be offended? Of course he was offended. Why is that even like a thing?
I think that's kind of like superfluous crap that he probably put in there.
So yeah, let's.
I will say that the whole speed runs and all this were sanctuary from real life, and when it spills over to real life, it's just it's unconscionable. So it's I can. We weren't happy with the whole City Ruler.
Well, he should have taken that cyberbullying lying down. Yeah. No. Okay. Anyway, so let's talk about the groups, and I just want to get because Al Malloy had quite the group for this tournament. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen. Let's discuss this group. Where is it? Hold on. What group are you in again?
Group E. I was in for some. I could explain why. I was in the Emperor's New Groove group. I'd never played the game before, but there was a specific reason as to why I was in there.
Why were you in this group with Mighty Maestro, Lyle Bandicoot 93, Nova, and Video Game Tits 645?
That's the most important thing to note there, right? With Video Games Rules 645 is that there's still a little bit of trolling going on, and Lyle and I specifically chose Emperor's New Groove to get into his group, so he'd have to race us, because Lyle was being a little bit of a troll, which is, to be honest, completely unreasonable, but at the time he thought it was hilarious. He was trolling the hell out of this poor guy, Video Games Rules, so we decided, we'll pick Emperor's New Groove to be in his group, and then he immediately transferred out, but not after Lyle found a way to get into one of his speedruns or something. I don't know, but that happened. And then also during this time, Lyle and I and Samatello met up in real life, so that happened too. So we had our own Irish meetup. I remember we really wanted Connor to be there, but he wasn't there, and we were really bummed out about it. But that happened. Muddy got his revenge against me for IAS6. He beat me in Toy Story Racer. Lyle and I had a fun Emperor's New Groove race, and Nova X9000 and I had a fun race too.
Now,
so
I hope
that was
didn't break his controller in that tournament.
It wasn't in this tournament, I don't think. No, that was a part of a speedrun outside of the tournament with the Bandy crew. But group stage, a lot of fun. But yeah, if you ever wonder if anyone has ever had that burning question, why did Video Games Rules just move out of the group immediately? Well, it's because Lyle and I's presence that he quickly evacuated. So
evacuated his parents too.
Yes.
He moved to Group T, which was Group Tarzan. So that's just quickly one thing I want to talk about. This tournament was organized by group, or what game you wanted to play. So Group E was the Emperor's New Groove group. Group A, what the? Angus featuring Finland Boy. I don't understand what that was about.
I mean, that was a joke.
That was your joke, actually, Angus. Funny, you don't even recognize your own joke. You made it why was that anyway?
Display.
Angus featuring, because honestly, because you thought it'd be hilarious because you thought the other two people didn't matter. If you said
it was actually
just
look who the other two people
one
were.
of them is James Jones.
James Jones and Fraser.
There you go.
Holy
shit. James Jones.
That's right.
What a group.
This is hold on a sec. Video is missing, but it links to a video. What video is this? What is this video? Oh!
It should be.
It must have been deleted.
Oh no, we don't have the info.
No. It's the one. It's the
the one?
race to eat Randall. That's
No,
the race.
That's
that
the
was
race to
not
eat
that, was it?
Randall? Oh, no.
That was World Cup speedruns.
No, that was
was
this
it?
tournament. It was
I thought
definitely
it
was.
No,
was, I thought it was
yeah.
this tournament, wasn't it?
It
No,
was
because-
definitely this tournament because
Yeah,
it was Monsters Inc. You see.
Yeah, spot on, Connor, because he was
Yeah.
known as Instrumation, and I remember the video said Instrumation, where he was Oribes 100 in World Cup
He was, which is
Speedrun,
Spyro
so,
backwards.
yeah.
And then Crystal Fissure.
Here it is.
You were
Round one, Group L.
Group L with Group B. Which is what the hell?
Yeah.
Oh no, yes. What is this? Group Bugs Life / Monsters Inc. What the fuck is going on there?
Lucky us.
Oh, yeah, what is
Oh,
going
here's
on with
Connor.
the groups?
Because our first, basically, me and Fissure were big fans of Bugs Life and still are, and that was our first choice to speedrun. But we were also very fond of Monsters Inc. So that's where the Bugs Life and then Monsters Inc. is like. So it's kind of like Bugs Life is first choice and then Monsters Inc. is second choice then.
And look at this. There was actually a triple threat in this group between Crystal Fissure, Spike Stuff, and Mr. Game Sandy, and that was in Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
Good race. I watched that recently, and you were in that race.
Damn, I
actually.
forgot about that one. Yeah, nice.
And look at this, Ratchet 5. He was too afraid to race you guys, so he moved out to Group M with the Stick Kid. Group M. What is like? I'm just looking at this like move.
And
to
it ended up in
to
Group T
M. Like,
instead.
What was
It says
happening
move
in
to
this
Group.
tournament?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, honestly.
Kingdom
what
Hearts was one. Jeez, like that is such an outlier compared to all of these games. I'll be
Wait a
honest.
sec. I have to.
I was going to say group politics. I'm pretty sure named after myself, yours truly.
Yep.
Why does every race in this group have an asterisk next to it? Zadeskate. Group 1 was disqualified from his match against Zadeskate for not using his own footage.
Oh yeah.
That's that. Oh my goodness! Not using his own footage. That's a very. That's such a diplomatic way of saying I cheated.
What the hell is this?
It's safer work. Don't worry, Angus. But
Is
it's
it safer work?
it's not using his own footage is such a diplomatic way to put that Matt ran the
game for you.
Yeah, game for me.
Wait, how come there wasn't more controversy about that?
It was the whole idea is that obviously I very rarely win any runs on merit, so like me allegedly winning a match.
No rematch.
This is such a good fucking intro.
That's the thing. I was known for my intros. Like all my intros are dumb, stupid memes.
Oh yeah. So this is one of those
many
technicalities where you
very well now, but
we're footage through. That's great. Like, honestly, I could spend a lot of time just like marking out over I'm a Speedrunner 7 races, but my absolute favorite race of this tournament was a race between myself and Crystal Fissure, where finally we got a chance to actually like have a proper like speed run, and it was one of the more memorable things. And we had a lot of copycats from this. Crystal Fissure, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, this was excellent. So this was you and I in we made it to round 2, right? That was what it was. It was round 2 race. Both got there. And so, yeah, I was first place in my group. You were second place in your group, I believe.
I think I was first place. You were second place. Oh no, that's right. Yeah, you were first place.
I think it was first.
Oh, this is a great race.
Have the page.
Sorry to
right, exactly. It's
join the jack off party, but like, this was a really good race. Like, I remember.
So this was like first time Angus and I had ever played 102 Dalmatians. Yeah, 102 and. It was the first time we ever played, and it was super close, as you can see, like being in the same level. And I won this first race by, what was it like? It was a certain amount of seconds, right?
It was like 6 seconds or less or something.
Yeah, something like that. And this is where the draw time stuff really sort of came into it because, if this was ISGP, I would have just gone straight through. But because, it was a mix of it was close, but also that we felt like a race of this magnitude deserved more time, we thought we'd turn it into a best of 3 instead. Now, I will say, like, on hindsight, as much as I enjoyed this best of 3 series, it probably wasn't for the best because, as you see, it basically created, no one wanted to get eliminated. And in many ways, it created the idea of like, oh, if you lose one race, you're not out, which kind of defeats the purpose of these tournaments. So, yes, the trilogy was epic from a sense of we then did a rematch. you won in Lilo and Stitch in an even better race. That was the true epic race.
Yep.
What was that?
So that was like a big time win for me because you were like a hot favorite with the Disney tournaments.
That's right. Yep. That's right. So it was like a huge, it was a it was really close race in the end.
Yeah. So you just died right there. See how you died right there? And then I won.
I had the pre-like on it. I went on the video, so I already liked it. So yeah, old me watched and approved.
That's right.
So. Wait, did you see that by the way? Just quickly look at this. Look at this. So watch this. Watch where you die. Right, we're both on the last level here. And you came honestly. I had the 3 records, but it could have been like another situation where it was a draw or something. But yeah, you're right. We set up like
that's right. Could have been
where. And this actually, we'll talk about this in I'm A Speedrunner 8. This was like probably one of the arguments you could have used against us is like, well, you guys did a best of 3 series, But the important thing to note about our best of 3 series, Crystal Fissure and everyone else here who's about to jump down my throat, is that we...
Oh, who won that, by the way?
You won the best of 3 series.
That's correct.
But,
yes, thank you.
We didn't... Here's the thing. This was a round 2 race, our round 2 races, and we didn't go into it being like you didn't declare a loss or anything. We did it by the rules outlined by the tournament host in accordance with the tournament host. And there had never been a real draw in round 2 before, and the only other time that there was a draw was when Al and Matt drew, and and they didn't even do a best of 3. They just did one single rematch. So there was that, and then because of us doing a sort of best of 3 series, I remember Pete the player and Crash for 1596 did their own best of not 3. They had to outdo us, didn't they? So they did a best of 5. So they did what game is this? They did Winnie the Pooh Kindergarten for some reason. They did Atlantis the Lost
Mickey Mania.
They did Toy Story Racer. They did Mickey's Wild Adventures, and they did Disney Dance Dance Revolution. I think it was all 5. So they did these bunch of games, and this was also the tournament where I raced Muddy Maestro again in round 3, and this kind of set up our long-running rivalry of racing each other that kind of bled into ISGP. We raced so many times. But this tournament also was famous for introducing the concept of and I'm going to say it just because it was the terminology used at the time, the Shag and Wagon Autistic Men Speedrun. What the absolute... Who came up with that name, honestly?
Lyle.
Lyle?
It was Lyle.
And the idea of this kind of race, as you can see, it's an absolute mess on the screen here. We've got look at all these okay, what? By the way, why are the top 3 normal, and why are
what
the
is the webcam?
And there's Fraser freaking out about something.
Well, this was a legacy of the old the Christmas speedruns where we had as many people as possible.
Oh yeah,
all on one screen. Yeah, it's I think the first one we had a good 10, 11, 12 people all competing at once, and I think this was just a attempt to kind of emulate. Just have as many fucking games on the screen as possible. Yeah,
well,
that's surprisingly good quality.
Didn't realize that.
You did mention round 1.5, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, round 1.5. Yes, let me have a look at round 1.5. That was what? No. 2.5. Wait, round 1.5. What the?
There was 1.5. It says here an idea proposed by the AFH, encouraged by Nintendo. I like the phrasing, encouraged by Nintendo Channel. It was made assuming that Group M would not do any more of their matches, and hence 3 people would be on 2 points with 1 loss, giving a good reason to not allow any of them into round 2, and instead let a third placer from another group into round 2. However, this is written not very clearly.
Who wrote that, by the way? That doesn't sound like something...
I don't know.
It might have been Morgan. Morgan kept up that wiki specifically for a very long time.
By the way, a 13-year-old Morgan, so yeah.
Yes.
It was very young.
I also want to mention Ratchet and I did also do a trilogy, but that was, I think, maybe inspired by Yi, but also I think because it was our third time facing off, we were like, oh, well, we have to do 3 races because it's the third time, and he beat me twice, so much so I was like, well, I'm not going to do the third game because I've already lost. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. But yeah, inspired likely by the Kongus.
Yeah. So there were only 42 of the 54 races done. Oh yes, I see it here. I see. Here, let me put this up on the screen because it's interesting. Wall of text here. Yeah. So the only match in round 1.5 was Game Sandy versus Lyle Bandicoot 93, in which Lyle won. I don't know why that's in bracket.
Yeah, tried to cheat me out of the tournament.
Yeah, he tried to cheat. Yeah, that's right.
No, I remember actually.
That's what it was. I mean, everything that Lyle did.
Down on him.
Yeah, Lyle's a mega troll at this stage. Like he was just on a tear.
Oh,
in
he
that
was
wiki
huge
page
from
that
the year
you
before. Like 2012, Lyle was like Al from 2010 or 2011. He was an absolute.
Yeah, but I mean, he and I did. We were like, yeah, like the two of us were terrible together.
Yeah, so
just,
the 18-man autistic shaggin' wagon. I hate calling it that, but that's what it was called. Was basically come as you may. Whoever's there at this exact period of time, this exact specified time, will be in the race, and that kind of played into. I used that to my advantage when in round 3, the losers of round 3 got to be in a shaggin' wagon, right? Whoever showed up at the time could go to round... 2 people would go to round 4. Not 2 people from one race, though. There would be 2 separate races happening at the exact same time. And I gamed the system because I did Toy Story Racer. And everyone else did Toy Story 2. And Al was meant to race me in Toy Story Racer, but didn't show up.
Yep.
So I got through. And if you actually look at... I think I'll go to this wiki.
Oh, yeah.
Does anyone remember why I didn't show up? I don't remember.
This is my history of this tournament.
Right? You just didn't show up. You didn't do. I think you didn't show up in IAS8 too.
Yeah, I
you
didn't
just
know.
Sleep through. You just sleep through.
I think this one. I think I slept through. Actually, yeah.
It's a very comprehensive.
Life was finally getting in the way for you.
Look at that! Look at that! That was my performance. Look at that! I played 8 races. I won 1 race, I lost 7, and I made it to the semi-final.
12.5% victory rate.
I had a win victory percent of... And then I think this wiki kind of is a bit shitty looking, but as you can see, this is my I'm A Speedrunner 7. So I beat Fraser, right?
Wow, good on you.
Monster Adventure. I lost
You're going to beat
Finland
Fraser
Way.
now.
I lost the Crystal Fissure in the first one. I lost overall in that race.
You know what's crazy, though, to cut in there? Like, Fissure won the tournament. You came so close to knocking him out of the tournament. Even though you had, like, this shit tournament, you came the closest to beating the guy who won. Isn't that crazy?
I know. So, actually, that's a good point. Let's talk about the I'm A Speedrunner 7 Grand Final, because that was a legendary...
Oh, no, I want to mention the trilogy I did with Ratchet first.
Oh, yes, please, please.
Yeah, let's say about Connor's thoughts on IAS7 before the final, because he obviously got to the final.
Please continue, Connor.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm just talking about... Yes, let me talk now. Yeah. Just I did that, with my regards to the trilogy, I saw it more as like, it's a semi-final stage. Like, it'd be better if we did 3 games to prove your place in the final instead of doing 1 game. So I thought it would have been better. At least you could then say, oh, well, at least like someone won 2 of the 3 games, for example. So at least then there was like a bit of more merit instead of just doing, say, Toy Story 2 or Atlantis or Lilo and Stitch, and then you're just in the final straight away. No, I felt that was just better. And then I never get that trilogy we did with Ratchet 5. It was great fun, like doing it, because like but it was one of those races. It was funny because I remember like Ratchet 5 did the draw for the semi-finals, and he was really disappointed when he said, "Oh, the winner of Alan Connor's going to race Game Sandy." And I remember asking Ratchet, why was he so upset over that? And he goes, "Oh, 'cause I'm going to be the person that knocks you out." And I was like, "Well, I'm going to use this as motivation." Yeah. You know, one of those things when you just use it as motivation just to get yourself up for the race. So yeah, I used that, and I don't think we'll show it on the footage, but I think that was fun. I think Ratchet with that comment. It was one of those great races to win because it was a trilogy, but also it was kind of like you used like something like that to motivate yourself, and also that it showed you could get to a grand final. It showed that you were also capable. It showed as well that you could be new and still get to a grand final.
Honestly,
the other thing,
I
Connor,
gotta say, oh shit, I keep doing that.
Okay,
as much as we sort of, I guess, derided, or some people did, I was personally quite excited to see Connor in the grand final. I thought that was a pretty cool achievement, to be honest.
The big thing is that it Connor's touched upon, and it just kind of galaxy brain came back to me, and it's very obvious why we did 3 races. The reason why we wanted to do 3 races as well is because we determined that certain people are better at other games, and unlike Spyro 1, 2, and 3, which have a similar formula, these games are so varied and different that we really needed someone to be like, well, you need to be like the definitive Disney king, right? You need to beat me in 2 Disney games, not 1. that's why I think somewhat that that they did we did 3 or 5 races. Now, on that topic, before we jump ahead, there's a few more quick little notes. Is that this is where it came down to with Matt and Pete. Now, Matt maybe be able to confirm this, but Matt and Pete were very, very competitive, and they ended up being people that were more serious in terms of speedrunning, especially Pete. Pete is still to this day, in that Spyro community doing, high level speed runs, more so Crash actually. And so I think neither one of them wanted to get eliminated, so it was like, we're going to do 5 races to determine who's better. And obviously Matt ended up winning this. And that leads to, before we get to the grand final, the biggest piece of drama of the whole tournament, really. And that was myself versus Matt.
Yes.
In Toy Story 2. So
let's talk about that. I've got it up on screen here, Crystal Visual. Let's talk about it. I'll go to the famous fridge scene, and you can talk us through the famous fridge scene. And look, Matt, if Crash for 1596 is watching this, please do leave your thoughts and opinions on this, because this was again, and we'll talk about this at the end of this tournament. But this was Crash for 1596's final speedrun in I'm a Speedrunner after 4 or 5 tournaments. This was the last time we ever saw him in a speedrun. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, so I'll let everyone else have their words about it if they have anything. But Matt and I were good friends, and I spoke to him a lot, and we were very, very excited for this race. And I want to stress that nowadays, and even not that long after this, there was really no hard feelings. But what happened was Matt gets stuck at a point in the race, and I stop playing to help him, because he's convinced that it's a glitch in the game. And it somewhat is a glitch, but at the same time, by the way that we kind of considered it, all he had to do is get closer to it, and he would have been able to knock down the what's it called, the lock, as you just saw on screen. Yeah. So this happens. I've paused for 10 or so seconds, and I've won the speed run by 35.998 seconds, right? Which is basically a rounding error to 36 seconds.
Yeah.
The draw time was 36 seconds. Now, we said that basically, due to how it's rounded up, that is essentially rounded to 36 seconds. And because of my quote-unquote good sportsmanship, that we would not have to do a rematch, and I went through. Now, I'm going to assume Matt was not happy with that. And I totally understand why he wasn't. No, we never really did. We just simply...
See, by the way, this it never really got resolved. About. He's having a hard time with the fridge, but he doesn't experiment any further than just walking back. He kind of just stands at a certain distance and then walks back, yeah. But continue, sorry, Crystal Vision.
No, I was going to see if anyone else has any perspective on that. But, it was I'm not going to say it wasn't... I'm not trying to whitewash it and say it wasn't heated. But I am trying to say is that, it was one of those things where Matt just disappeared not long after that. There was never really any follow-up. It's just he kind of accepted that he lost, and then this is the
only comment, by the way. It can't have been that too controversial, because the only comment is speedrun ends with no time to lose.
A lot of comments are deleted.
Yeah, it was. No, I remember this being a thing. And I can throw in my 2 cents and just say I recall during this period that I was talking less with, I think, with Rabid, Mad, and I think Pete as well. I remember, I think at the beginning of the tournament, speaking with them and also Cypress, but then slowly kind of backing up. I don't know whether consciously or not, but I just wasn't speaking so much with them, and then obviously they all kind of faded out after that. Although then again, well, I think Matt did. I think Matt later, and he can clarify this in the comments, I think he actually later after this might have had a falling out with Rabbit and Pete, and I think I recall speaking still with Rabbit and Pete thereafter, but then Matt actually disappeared. I don't know if I've got my time frames exact on that, but I recall there being a triumvirate for a time of me, Rabbit, and Pete being good friends for a little while anyway, so yeah. Well, anyway, point being is that this did cause, I think, the catalyst for Matt to eventually kind of fade out, and then also the Cyprus stuff as well. You didn't mention that.
No,
like,
I was about to
Cyprus
mention the
also.
Cyprus stuff. So there was a guy called Cyprus who wasn't actually from Cyprus. He was from Poland, I believe, if that's correct.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, so he qualified for this sort of like second chance, like three-way thing. It was like this was the tournament of like the multi-man speedruns. There was like 1 million of these matches, right? And essentially, it was meant to be myself, Ratchet5, and Cyprus. And the winner of that race would qualify for the grand final. And actually, Cyprus won that race. He came first. As you can see, it was a Toy Story. I'll just go to my second. It was a Toy Story 2 speedrun. However, he never sent his footage. So Ratchet5 won by default. Sorry. Actually, he did send his footage, didn't he? He did, actually.
Later.
But later, much later. He didn't do it at the same time as us. And so Ratchet5, by virtue of Cyprus, like, essentially he went completely off the grid. We like, and I'll show you this actually. We had this poll situation going on here. If Cyprus doesn't do his match before he leaves, should he be kicked out? Vote in the comments if you've done it at least. What the hell? If the Cyprus revealed that he would not be able to do his speedrun for 5 days, and that for 5 days before he will have a hard time doing the speedrun. This is like a poll. I don't know. The delay was only cause of a disagreement between him and a previous
P-O-L-L, not a P-O, not a P-O-L-E, as in Cyprus being Polish. Sorry.
Yeah. Make your judgment. This is so totally a Ratchet5 video. But and then if I go to, I think it was on the, I don't know, I'll put it back here. But anyway, yeah, so the long story short, the long and the short of it is that Cyprus couldn't make it to the grand final. And this is like, I think, the only time where we had a grand final qualifier not make it to the grand final. So, Crystal Fissure, what did we do for this tournament? What did Ratchet5, the host of the tournament, do when he came second in a triple threat speedrun, right? What did he do? He went through to the grand final, didn't he?
Yes,
qualified.
that's correct.
There was no rematches. Remember this, everyone. There was no rematch.
That's
Him and I didn't race again.
No rematch.
Cyprus just
at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if you want to, like, we'll talk about the grand final coming up, but the reality is that Cyprus would have won this tournament.
He would have,
Both times that I won tournaments, I was never the best player. You know, at the end of the day, Cyprus was exceptional at speedrunning, and essentially we played a rule that was like, if you can't be there, if you have a life, fuck you. Basically, that's what it was. We were, you know, for what we are considered, you know, by ISGP standards, right, pretty strict with our deadlines, our timing, and stuff like that. We were downright merciless when it came to IAS. We were, in fact, stricter than ISGP in some regards, and this was a classic example. We should have just waited the 5 days. At the end of the day, Cyprus should have been in the grand final over you or Ratchet, but we didn't have the patience. You know what I mean? It was just like, nah. You're out.
That's right. And the other I guess, thing to point out there too is, if you talk about like how people qualified for the grand final, should Ratchet5 have been in that grand final? Do you guys think? Like, he didn't win the race.
He didn't. Wait. So how did it work out then? So he beat me round 3.
He lost to me then in the semi-final. That's why he ended up in the second chance.
Right, and he won the second. Did he win the second?
No, he came second in the second chance because Cyprus won that race. Cyprus went AWOL, and Ratchet5 just took his spot, even though he didn't qualify for it. So.
Well, I mean, who else was gonna get in there?
That's a good point. Hey, that's a really good point. And if you don't have any problems with that, I will leave that there with that statement. Okay.
That's right.
Because I personally don't have a problem with it either. I was completely. Yeah. Like, fine with it, and I never challenged the point. I never asked to go through. I never asked for a rematch or anything. So let's just put that there. That's just a.
You should have.
Remember that. Just hold that in the back of your head, everyone, please. Yep. So let's talk about the grand final, because this was a merciless but also very fun grand final. And I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna plant my, and we'll have a discussion here. Best grand final in the history of I'm a Speedrunner.
Absolutely not.
Not for you, but I think...
Unfortunately not for Connor.
Not for Connor, but Connor, let's talk about why did it suck for you? What was your big?
Because literally you and Al were complete dicks to me. That's why.
Yeah, he's not wrong. So I mean,
and as you can see by the fact of the matter that the video lacks the footage of Connor David.
Yeah. And I also like don't want to like shit on Ratchet 5, but that like was a dick move also on hosting like to not even mention my name in the description. And that's not
Yes,
picking
that
on
was
him.
a very dick move.
I would literally say the exact same if it was like any other host as well.
Of
Just want to point it
course.
out there.
Yeah. That is very strange that you weren't mentioned, like you weren't in the description. I agree.
And this, I would say that like, I think the call, like it was a product of its time. Oh, King Europe one's disappeared. It was a product of its time. I think it was one of those things where it was like, we hadn't had one of these kind of like crazy chaotic calls for a long time, I think. And Al and I were just kind of like, when you put Al and I together, sometimes we did bring out the worst in each other, I think.
Yeah. Same with
it was a bit
Angus
of
and I,
one-upsmanship
Lyle
going
and I.
on.
Lyle, Angus, and I,
Yes.
especially, is a horrible triumvirate. But yeah, obviously we can. Now I can publicly apologize to Connor for my conduct in that race because it was bullshit. Suffice to say, to explain, just to for maybe anyone watching who hasn't watched that grand final. Essentially, Angus and I took it upon ourselves to just kind of chide Connor like throughout the final, just with like various like barbs, which are so in some cases banter, in some cases really not, just kind of just simply mean. We caused him to accidentally crash his footage by telling him to turn his microphone down when
Also,
it was totally fine.
obviously,
we didn't intentionally mean that to happen, but yeah, sorry.
No, that's one of them. It's one of the most bizarre. Like, I mean, to this day, that's always been the biggest question in that whole grand final. It's like, how does it? Connor explained it, but it's like, what the hell? Like, how does like turning the volume down fuck up the recording software? Like it's one of the. But again, it doesn't make it okay. But it's just,
that comment by Crystal Fissure 9 years ago.
That's not. I mean, see, I said classic. It's like, I mean, I didn't agree with everything that was said, but yeah, at the time, it was like one of those time capsules. Like, yeah, I mean, it was like a good fun thing. But that's the thing. It's much like with what I said about IAS6, where everyone had a good time, and I was like, I didn't have a bad time. I just had it just existed, right? I was just kind of like, yeah, it was all right.
IS3, right, Andrew?
Yeah.
Like, it's just funny now how like we've had like 3 different individuals like all like have one. Like, I don't like IS3. I think it's memorable, but from my own personal experience, I hated it. Then maybe the same for you with IS6. You don't have the same nostalgia for it on that basis. And then all of us, I think, like IAS7, and I would agree with. Actually, Angus's comment about it being probably the best final, but obviously Connor has a much different viewpoint of it because
I just don't see how someone being completely berated can be seen as the best
But
final.
right, but we're talking about it more from a race as well. It's not just about the call. It's like saying that the actual speed race, and even including your performance in the final too, it deserves credit because it was actually quite a highly skilled race. I thought.
Like that was a masterclass from Andrew.
And I think as well, though,
out.
Crystal Fissure winning the race too was quite a big like cathartic event because it was. We talk about like Connor making it to the finals. Crystal Fissure, who was an absolute mid speedrunner, won the tournament.
I love that
of everyone,
honestly.
And it was quite the auspicious occasion. Yes, Connor.
I just want to make the point just on the final, like that was a perfect example why Disney was a success because it had Fissure, who wasn't seen as a strong player at the time, and you had me getting to the final, who had only been in the second tournament. Same for Muddy and Zayskid actually. So that pretty much is a perfect example of why Disney was a success because even though the final I didn't enjoy it, it's like I still got there. Same with Fissure, same with Zayd, same with Muddy. It showed that Disney was the right path.
And these, by the way, these were the finishing. And look at this. Okay, complete disrespect again to Game Sandy, to Connor. You're not even listed in the finishing times.
And I don't. Yeah, I mean, we're not using this as just a crap on session, but it's like that. That to me is ironic that you two get 100% of the quote unquote, criticism for your conduct, but there's not even, to me that's like subtle disrespect, that is like completely understated. I feel.
I don't remember why that was the decision was made to not include Connor in the section there, but also I like for some reason I don't know why this amused me. Eat the 7. Why is that a comment on that?
Eat the 7.
That was something said in the video, I think. But
No, yeah.
That's 7.
8 to 7. Oh, Christian's
I
back.
suppose
Now, before we move on
Yeah,
to
gi-
I'm A Speedrunner 8,
given
I
a
just want
like-
to say, because I think Christian
Why?
really wanted to talk about I'm A Speedrunner 7, and you said you cite it as like a legendary tournament, despite the fact that you had an understated campaign in it. Why exactly do you adore this tournament so much, Christian?
It's legendary to myself because I think it was the end of the first year of university, and yeah, it was like I think I mentioned this in the chat after, because I was listening to the second episode of this podcast live, and like IS was a big rock for a lot of us, and you know, IAS7 happened at a time that was you know, when I really needed kind of an escape, and I think everyone can relate to that. Like there's a time in everyone's you know in the main cast, you know, where you know, we just needed a something we could escape to, and IS7 was a big one for me. So yeah, and IAS8 as well. So
Yes.
yeah,
Well, you know, maybe it's time we talk about I'm A Speedrunner 8. Now, I think, you know, I'm A Speedrunner 7 won by Crystal Fissure in a legendary speedrun, certifying himself as the king of Disney. Could it ever be done that someone could win 2 tournaments in a row? Was that achievable? Was that an achievable feat? Let's talk about I'm A Speedrunner 8, because normally when we do these, we kind of talk about what was happening in between from, like, you know, between like the tournaments. But there is actually a full 12-month gap between I'm A Speedrunner 7 and I'm A Speedrunner 8. And I don't really want to talk about every single thing that actually happened in that gap. But I will say, though...
I'll give you the brief rundown after this, I guess.
Please.
Oh, okay. The brief rundown is that, like what Christian said, like what Al said, like what everyone said, basically everyone went back to their corners, right? The Australian crew grew in getting closer together sort of on a personal level. Rabid had been gone. By the way, we forgot to mention that this was also Rabid's last tournament, I believe, IAS7, right?
Hello, everyone.
Yep.
Yes.
So Rabid's last tournament, he was gone, basically almost for good at that point. Everyone was focusing on their YouTube channels, me especially. I was really building up my YouTube channel. Al was really building up his YouTube channel. And so we were like trying to chase Ratchet 5's subscriber count. And so everyone just kind of got, we had the meetup. You and Ratchet were filming movies. Christian, had Crashcasts, being more developed and stuff like that. And this is when basically not long before IAS8, that was sort of when yoga came back. So so we'll talk about that in a sec. But basically 2012 to 2013, not a big speedrunning year, but just I enjoyed the period of time between 7 and 8.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
I would say,
but there's not much to say in the context of speedrunning, for sure.
Yeah, sorry, what was that, Chris?
I was going to say, IS8 was like the big year for the wider community. I remember Andrew Crystal Fissure had his interviews that were really big. He had an interview series of people in the community. Where
the IAS Talk.
It spoke about IAS Talk and the old the first major podcast of the community outside of Crashcast, of course, but like the podcast of the actual like tournament, and sponsored by Cock and Balls.
We did those.
In a reference to
there were a million of those podcasts. We did them all the time, though. That's the thing. We did podcasts, but I think we tried to.
But IS8 was the big sort of when it actually was.
It's probably the most prolific. Yeah, the most prolific podcast there. That some have aged well, some have not.
Now we have to start the talk about I'm A Speedrunner 8 with this video here, which I will play an excerpt from. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12, and what should IAS8 be?
Hello everyone, Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12 here, and you probably won't understand why am I making video on this channel, and well, things are solved, so you have nothing to worry about. And now I'm here to talk about probably if there will be any tournament of I'm A Speedrunner, I'm A Speedrunner 8. I'm actually looking forward into I'm a Speedrunner 8. Actually, I'm possibly going to join that.
Anyway, I'll stop that because he's rambling.
I'll mention he was wearing the Spyro Jam T-shirt just like yourself right now.
He's wearing a variant of this
skate
t-shirt.
tournament.
So wait, he won the skate. He got the
rocked
skate
up, yeah.
tournament. He got the
He didn't win it.
yes and the
He didn't win
t-shirts.
it.
But anyway, so here's the
won it.
thing, right? That video was about Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12, talking about what he wants I'm a Speedrunner 8 to be. Now that was uploaded in April 2013, right? I'm a Speedrunner 8 started in July, but so this video was uploaded and nothing was done with it. But he was actually asking people to vote for what they wanted, and I'll show you guys. These are like the votes that came in. So Muddy voted for like Ape Escape and Jack and Daxter. Gex, GTA Medieval, Gex, Croc, Ratchet 5, Katote, even, he wanted to vote, he wanted another Ratchet and Clank, I guess. And you can see, these are the results. Gex, Croc, Sonic, Mario, Rayman, Ratchet and Clank, Mega Man. Yeah, these are the results. And
it really shows just like how
look at that.
Time splitters. Wow.
thirsty people were for something different, because
Yeah.
it was
Well,
everything is
that was the rule was it was barred from, you couldn't vote for the 2 games that would be done multiple times before. So yeah, so that's interesting. So that was put out in April 2013, and essentially that was it. Like nothing had really there was no act, like Bandy didn't action that or anything. He just kind of set that out into the world, and we assumed that Ratchet 5 was basically done with I'm a Speedrunner at this point. Like we thought that he did not want to do it anymore. Like it had been actually a year, everyone had kind of moved on to their own shit, and it was like, well, okay, I'm a Speedrunner 7 I guess is the last one. Like, did you guys probably assume that, right? Like, what did you think?
I assume that.
I assumed that too.
It was the start of the old Tom Goose rule of when you guys when wasn't Ratchet 5, but it was Crystal Fisher and Nintendo Gen 64.
Can I also just mention quickly that because everyone did think that this was the end, and I remember there was a call late at night, and you could find it. It's on the chat. It's called "Pete is Banned" is the name of the video, and it's on the address. Connor knows it. Pete joins a call at like 2 a.m. our time, and it's me, Ratchet. I think Matt. No, Matt wasn't there, and Ricky, who will later become infamous in this regard. We're all in it, and then Pete just goes, "Why are you making IAS8?" And then Ricky, of course, just goes, because Danny demanded it. So the idea, I guess the narrative was, like, first of all, it's a great, recording of the sentiments, because Pete's like, what the fuck, you're making IAS8? And then Ricky, I guess the reasoning that everyone thought was, oh yeah, Bandy demanded it. And then, of course, Pete's told that he's banned from IAS8, and he gets very flustered, and we all start laughing at him. But,
yeah.
I go cry.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like with I'm a Speedrunner 8, I fully believe that Bandy would just host it. Like I didn't really and maybe people got this misconception from Andrew Conley. I mean, oops, shit, from Crystal Fisher and I, that we were these power hungry. I don't know how that happened after 10. It was bound to happen.
Andrew Conley, that's my real name, but yeah, how though? How?
Sorry. What? It was anyway. What was I? Yes, it was people maybe assumed that we were just sitting there waiting for Ratchet 5 to be done, and we were just yes, it's time to really get our fingers into the pot of I'm a Speedrunner.
Not entirely untrue, will I add?
Honestly. Okay, but I believe Ratchet 5 solo hosted I'm a Speedrunners 4, 5, 6, and 7, right? That was from 2011, April 2011 to July 2012. At no point in that period of time did Crystal Fisher or myself be like, all right, we want to co-host this with you, we want to run this with you. The running of the tournaments was not a big deal to me. I didn't really want or care about it. And
what it came down to was also it was the people that ended up hosting IAS8 was myself, you, and Al Malloy. That's the funny thing that's actually kind of sort of missed out here, is that you were in a hosting role, but much like most Al Malloy hosting roles, it usually fell to the wayside very early on.
Just written in contract, but not actually.
Yeah, ceremonial host. I'm like the president of Ireland, right? I do.
That's right.
I do
That's
nothing.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have like the actual like proper authority over anything.
But we did discuss things with you.
Yeah, you did. To be fair, okay.
It was more like discussing things that mattered and like events and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe almost like kind of today in the way we'll discuss ISGP, like that was the proto conciliere role.
There was a big frustration because we were having tournaments so frequently, and there was a kind of like IAS7 was fantastic because it was a complete clusterfuck of a whole load of stuff, but there was a real kind of like want to have like a proper grounded tournament that was had a proper theme and a proper game and a so IAS8 was really a product of that, and that's the start of the Congoose rule.
So that's what I wanted to talk about.
To this day.
Andy said, "Okay, we'll do a vote." The vote was Gex, right? Now, Gex won the vote by like a point or something. Like it was a very close vote. Like it was very close. I think if I have a look, I lost the video. I closed it, but yeah, it was like basically Gex barely won, and that was 4 months. So 4 months had passed, or 2 months, or however many months passed. It was like a while. It was a period of time. And Crystal Fissure and I, we could have said, "All right, fuck that vote. Whatever. We'll do our own thing, and we'll just run it." But I remember being in a call with Fissure, and I believe Al was there too. And we were just like, why don't we just run I'm A Speedrunner 8? Why don't we just do it? Because Ratchet 5 at this point, I know I'm not going to get too much into this, but he had his demons. He was battling some demons. He had some problems in his personal life, and he wasn't exactly in a position where he could be.
He didn't want to host anymore.
Well, he didn't want to host. That's right, but he wasn't really in a position where he could be hosting either at that time.
Yes.
So a decision was made that Crystal Fissure, myself, and Al would host, and we'd maintain the outcome of the Gex vote, and we'd do a Gex tournament. And I'll just play quickly the video in which we announced I'm A Speedrunner 8, because this is one of my favorite videos. I don't know why, I just like it. It's very outdated, as you'll see, but check this out.
Right, hello everyone, it's Nintendo Gen 64. Yes, it's been a little while since I've been on Spyro Speedrun's channel, but yes, I'm here today, and I am joined by my counterpart. It's Crystal Fissure. You probably saw him already.
Hello kids. Hi.
Hi, yeah, it's Crystal Fissure, and we're here on Google Hangout. Yep. Not Skype, Google Hangout. Yep. And today we're here to talk to you about a very fascinating development in the world of Spyro speedruns. Well, you see, this guy called Crash Bandy Spyro 12, for some reason, decided to upload a video announcing some kind of IAS8 thing or something, I don't know. And he asked you people to vote for it, and you did vote for it, but then he left the project, he didn't want any part of it, and no one wants to touch this thing. Yeah, he doesn't want to host I'm A Speedrunner 8 at all.
Okay, so then, spoiler alert, we're gonna host it, so... Cool.
Repeat that.
We're gonna host it. So we did, and it was I'm A Speedrunner 8, and honestly, yeah, it was kind of cool. And like, I think
Fisher still in the same room he was back then. There.
Oh look, yeah, look, holy shit, the same room.
That's the thing. Yeah, it
really is.
It's the same. I love it. It's brilliant. Only thing that's changed is the canvas above the sofa. That's brilliant.
That is fantastic. Holy crap, that is bizarre. But I want to talk to Yogamonyo now. I want to bring him in because this is his big return to the community. Why? Okay, so you saw the sign up to the Gex tournament. What possessed you, of all people, to want to come back into the fold? What drew you to it?
So it's weird because I remember watching a bit of IAS7 because I wasn't in it obviously, and I think the main reason why was I just wasn't really interested in playing Disney games mixed with there was just a lot of stuff happening in my life, and I never really even played Gex when it was announced that it was going to be a Gex tournament, and I was just like, well, these are kind of like old people in the community, and I kind of want to, do something again with everyone because, at this point it was like well over a year that I was in the last tournament because I was in IAS6. And I think at that time I was still talking to like a fair amount of the Americans. So I was talking to like Ricky Man, Crash 41596, Kirby Power 1, who I think appeared in a tournament at some point.
Yep.
And I was still talking to them at least a little bit. And I don't know. I think just at the time, my life was just like I just kind of want to. I kind of want an escape, kind of like how Christian had like IAS6, for example,
seven.
Or 7. Sorry. And yeah, and I guess this was just kind of like this will be like my escape, and also kind of like to come back in because I missed having those like really long fun calls because I moved states at the time and all that sort of stuff, and I just want to kind of be back in that sort of environment sort of thing. I think that's why I inevitably came back.
Well, these were the time of the old 12-hour was OMG pop calls with
That was this time. OMG pop. We used to play the Penguin Putt Putt and all that stuff.
Yep.
Oh man, I miss that so much.
When me and John, obviously me and John same age, were about to go to university, and we had a good old 12-hour long call talking, playing OMG Pop and all the games, Pop Balls and all that. So it was that kind of time, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Which is kind of like the old school. What now is what people play Jackbox. Basically.
Oh yeah.
So the key thing I guess about I'm A Speedrunner 8 is it was like a year had passed. Ratchet 5 was kind of like not gone, but like he was there still, but he was obviously like he had more other like things going on in his life than just
he just started uni.
He just started uni. That's right. And so Crystal Fisher and I were just like let's just host it because. The perception, I guess, was that Ratchet 5 was always the guy. He built this thing from the ground up or whatever. But I guess by the time IAS8 came around, I was approaching it from the kind of mindset that this was, if he wasn't going to do it, we should at least... It was more of for the community. It wasn't for, like, a one-man to, like, run it to be, like, have a power play over people. It was a community project. It was a community event. And as you say, it brought people together. And, I think by the 2013, we were all like getting, we were all like, I was 19 in that year. Crystal Fisher was like 18 or whatever. Al was like, 21. You guys were, we were all getting a bit older. So I guess we had that retrospective that if calls are to happen, the best time for them to happen, the best time to catch up with people is during tournaments. And
I thought you were gonna do I thought you were gonna do Al Nasty again. Like, I was 18. Crystal Fisher 17. Al. 35.
Could have given him any age, he gives him 35.
I'll just age incredibly. But so then I guess we'll talk about I'm A Speedrunner 8, and we'll talk about I guess the first thing that happened, and it's important to talk about this. That the channel got hacked. The channel was hacked. Now let's watch this video from Crystal Fisher. It only goes for a minute, so thankfully he was brief for this one. But look at this. This is in the famous Crystal Fisher kitchen, by the way. You'll get a kick out of this. Check this out.
Ooh.
Hello everyone, Crystal Fisher here with the IAS8 channel. And yes, we've been hacked. All the videos have been taken down. Not too sure who did it. There's only really one thing to say. If that's the person that did it, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean shit because we've got uploads, we've got backups. So all of it can be undone in a matter of days. So thanks for spending the time to delete the videos and keep one video up. Doesn't really mean shit because we've got it all back, all uploaded, ready to be re-uploaded. So the tournament will continue. So I'm guessing the intent was to hopefully get the tournament cancelled. That's the exact opposite of what's going to be happening. It's not going to be cancelled, it's going to keep going, and it's going to be fine. So keep uploading your matches, guys. Re-upload matches if you haven't. If you see it's not on there, which it probably won't be. We got Desert Monkey with all the video backups. So really, I mean, there's absolutely nothing that can be ruined about the tournament because of these actions. It really doesn't mean shit.
There you go. So nothing can be ruined. So actually, it's funny when you mention that. Dessert Monkey just happened to download every single race that happened for no reason. We didn't ask him to do it. He just did it, and that is why we call him.
He must have done it because he was tired of people hacking and deleting stuff.
No, there was a reason. It's because of something. It says here, in case something bad would happen, similar to what occurred with I'm a Noob Runner. So that's actually why he did that.
That's it.
I don't know what about I'm a Noob Runner, but apparently that was why. So I just read that there. But could I just underline? Basically, Dessert Monkey saved IAS8. You could say, like, isn't that kind of fucking dope?
And I think honestly,
I just love how pompous Crystal Fisher is too. Like, oh yeah, we have the backups of everything.
Yeah.
Whoever did it, who cares?
Awesome,
backtraced it.
Yeah, I backtraced it. Oh, gee, but it's awesome how he's just like, yeah, we have the backups. Like, he completely. I guess obviously it turned out to be Ricky. Like that video, if you're Ricky watching that, you just be like, well, fuck.
Yeah,
it's completely pointless. Like
it's sweet. We had this rodeo before. It's like
that's
back up all the.
By 2013, deleting videos was
and really that video as well emphasized why only certain people should get the password for the channel.
Yeah, that's right.
So I remember I was really in. I got like really insulted that when I wasn't part of the secret club that can have the password. I was like, I was here from day one. I deserve to have the password.
There was a lot of
obviously in hindsight, like it had no, there was no like utility in giving me the password. But I remember being really salty that I didn't have the password.
Yeah. Because it had gone from everyone having it to now like.
And actually, maybe that was part of the perception that Andrew and I kind of had, where we were like, we were really exclusive. We had our clique, and we were like, fuck you, we'll run our tournament. But I will say, we'll talk about this. I'm a Speedrunner 8, very controversial tournament amongst some, and we'll talk a little more about that later. But I think if the videos did not exist, if Adam didn't download them, if Dessert Monkey didn't download them all, I'm a Speedrunner 8 would be looked at as probably the worst of all of them, I think. It'd be the one that the videos were mostly gone for. The history was gone. You couldn't really go back and watch it. So I think history would have been very unkind to it if we didn't re-upload all the videos. So I'm eternally grateful to Dessert Monkey for doing that.
Yeah.
So that was happening, and this was also the tournament where we decided to start, because Andrew and I are massive wrestling fans. This is the tournament where we decided to start storylining things for some reason. This was our first foray into doing like storylines, and essentially the way that we kind of did that was we manufactured drama between ourselves, where we made it seem like Crystal Fissure, Ratchet 5, and myself hated each other. And I remember there's this famous video of like me being, this is after I was beaten by Muddy Maestro. I won't play it with sound, but I'll like give you like the cliff notes. But this is me basically being like, I want a petition to come back into the tournament. You got to vote. Sign a petition, get Crystal Fissure to let me back in the tournament. It was like a, obviously clearly like a heel promo, so to speak. And then Crystal Fissure would do a retort video. And that all culminated. And we actually had people, I think, Yoga, you knew it was manufactured. I think we told you were one of the few people who knew that it was manufactured. Was that right?
Yes, I was. Which is funny because in retrospect, it made me not realize what was real and what wasn't, because I wasn't in on everything, but I was in on this.
Yeah.
So it was a start of like real kayfabe in.
Yes.
And I'm a Speedrunner.
I completely forgot about this video until you mentioned it. I remember.
Yeah, and I remember Al, you were not a fan of it.
No, I hate. Thank you, because I was about to say it. And I'm so glad you confirmed. Yeah, I hated it.
I'll be honest too.
I love this. This is like our first like.
The streets weren't ready. The streets weren't ready.
I hated the kayfabe because it was like.
This one, I had a lot of fun with this one.
I think just some very nice blue jeans.
This turned me around to the idea. I remember I liked this.
The smile there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one has the famous like I've been in 6 tournaments, Crystal Fissure, 6 tournaments.
Oh yeah.
It also has the famous.
That brick wall is peak community to me. That signifies the That signifies the community meetup, but yeah, it's.
Fisher stole Angus's shoes, by the way, and
Yeah.
What's he about to do there? About to sodomize me or something?
Well, Angus is missing his shoes in reference to the old train incident that we won't talk any further of. But yeah,
and there's the makeup. There was the makeup.
Yeah, that brick wall is pretty iconic.
It is, yeah. It's this video as well, because it's like it really does signify the old community meetup, which was really novel at the time.
And I guess it was lucky there was a community meetup during I'm A Speedrunner 8 too.
So
and this
obviously
is
the big
know the identity of the hacker. So we
right. Hold on.
Yeah.
We're skipping something important. Is that what happened? The reason why Al didn't like this manufactured drama was because one, you couldn't, you could tell if you knew, but it was overly meta. But the other problem with it is that obviously it created a boy who cried wolf situation where we then got legitimately hacked, right? So we actually paid for it. We were joking about drama, and then someone took down the channel, and then we only were able to save it by doing a comedic video about this, and then we revealed that it was, Ricky. So basically it was just not the right time to do that kind of thing. Whereas if we didn't do the fake drama at all and then started it with that video that you just saw, then it would have been looked at far more favorably, because it would have just been this comedic video where we're like, oh, fucking Ricky's the hacker. Because there was a video after this where we
I'll quickly show this. I'll mute it so we can still talk over it. But this is Ratchet 5 reveal. Look at that.
He runs into the house for an entire minute or so.
Yeah.
All the way to your guys' house.
Oh, and Angus, you must also show this video because it's Ricky admitting. One sec, I'll just send it in the.
Send it to me. But yeah, this one is is us revealing that Ricky Man is the hacker, as in someone he just got the password and just deleted the videos because he was a absolute cretin.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, and if Crash41596 is watching, he might be able to clarify it a bit. But I swear they were still talking at this point, and there must have been something behind the scenes to get the password away.
Yeah, I agree, Josh. I don't know if Matt was really.
I don't know if he's directly I don't think he's the main reason, but I think he might have helped.
I don't think they were talking, and I think they hated each other still at this stage. Because remember, Ricky said to Pete, "Go get fucked by Matt and cry because he gave you AIDS or something." I don't know.
Which was weird because Ricky was gay at the time, I guess.
By the way.
So I guess so that was all happening, and this was all filmed on a meetup in July 2013. Which was between me, Crystal Fissure, and Ratchet 5. And I'm not gonna get into some of the more unsavory parts of that meetup, because I don't think it's too appropriate to discuss here. But suffice to say, there was IRL tension between myself Crystal Fissure and I were fine, but there was tension between the two of us and Ratchet 5, and that comes into play very much in what we're about to talk about, because I think. Unless anyone has any problems, I think it's time we talk about the big reason why I'm A Speedrunner 8 is considered to be quite a controversial tournament. And I think we should start that by talking about we'll talk about draws, essentially. And now, Crystal Fissure and I, when we started this tournament, it was, I guess, assumed from the previous tournament that draw times would carry over from I'm A Speedrunner 7 to 8. And we never actually clarified that, and that was our big... I guess a big downfall was that we didn't actually say, these are the draw times for round 1, these are the draw times for round 2, these are the draw times for round 3, which kind of harkened back to what we talked about in the first part with I'm A Speedrunner 3 and the Al Malloy versus Crash41596 situation, because this leads into the big drama, which was between a race in the semifinals actually, between Ratchet 5 and our good friend Muddy Maestro. And now, Crystal Fissure, maybe perhaps you would like to field don't know a lot of the conversation on this one. Just give us a bit of a rundown about what was happening here.
About the Muddy versus Ratchet, right?
Let's start with that, yeah.
Okay. So the story goes is that they did a run in it was a fairly long run, Gex 2, and the run ended up being decided. I believe it was Muddy won in about 24 seconds. I went back and redid the time, and it was about 24 seconds, right? And Ratchet finished. So he finished 24 seconds later. It was very confusing because all of the early footage from Muddy was glitched. And so we don't actually know when he started racing and started actually moving. He literally is frozen the screen for about a minute, which is just an interesting tidbit. I just found that interesting. But the race went as so, and Muddy would go through, right? That would send Ratchet to a shaggin' wagon. Now, the thing is, Ratchet had assumed that the draw time was 26 seconds, which was apparently a draw time in around, I think it was round 3. I raced Sludgeball in that one in IAS7. I believe it was 26 seconds. It would make sense because then round 4 against Matt, for me, was 36. The thing is, we never ever said that 26 seconds was a draw. We never said that at any stage. And we've gone through hundreds, if not thousands, of DMs looking for this, looking to see if anyone admitted this. This is where we're talking to Al a lot about the tournament stuff. We cannot find anything as such. Now, the big twist is that we, in fact, did not know the result of this race because Ratchet had withheld the details from us. So, Angus, you can talk about that.
Yeah, so the key part
you remember this more than I do.
About it is, now, we did there was because we were doing shaggin' wagons all the time in these tournaments, we were doing a second chance 3-way to get into the grand final. And it was meant to be between Al, a guy called Sherray Wall, and the loser of the Ratchet 5 versus Muddy Maestro race. And basically what had happened was Ratchet and Muddy did not disclose the outcome of the first race with us. And the timeline is iffy on this one, but I can't remember if they did the second race before we knew the outcome of the first race, or if they, I'm pretty sure they did the second race, without even consulting us. It was just we got to do the second race.
They did.
Now,
yeah.
the second race was never actually uploaded
correct.
on the channel because, we, essentially what had happened was Muddy Maestro was put into this shaggin' wagon before we even saw the first one, because Ratchet 5 kept saying, I would ask him, he's like, I cannot confirm nor deny the winner of this race. And to me, when you withhold from the hosts the outcome of a race, I think that's an interesting thing to do.
And this I cannot confirm nor deny. This is, again, while we keep talking around it and we won't go into details, this is 1000% connected to how that meetup had gone and arguments that we had had about non-speedrunning issues. This is what it came from. Everyone likes to believe that it was just this random, I'm not going to confirm it tonight. No, it was because at that point he had decided that he was not a fan of us anymore.
Yeah, so at that point he was like,
that's why he held.
And I assume that he knew that we would have had a massive problem with the outcome of this race. I assume that he would have, right? Mm-hmm. He would have been like, okay, Angus and Andrew are probably going to have issues with this if I tell them. So what I'm going to do is withhold it until, because we had a hard date for the second chance race between Al and Muddy and Sherwood. We had a hard date for this, so it had to happen. So he just was like, oh yeah, Muddy lost the race. Right? Muddy lost the race. I'm like, okay, Muddy lost the race, fine, that's all I need to know. He'll go into the second chance 3-way. Then, so that race actually happened, and you guys did do the shaggin' wagon with Muddy Maestro in it, which I think is very, very interesting, because, it's like, and Crystal Fissure won that, by the way, because Crystal Fissure had actually lost to the Subpixel, good friend of King Europe 1 here. Yeah. So actually, if you could see here, I'll just put it up on screen. This actually did happen, and Muddy, I think he didn't win this race. I think he came 3rd or 4th or something and was out. Anyway, so that race, you can see this race was uploaded on the 29th of July, 2013. Right, this is important. The race itself actually was recorded on the 21st of July, 2013. And the reason we know that is because there's actually DMs of us, and I don't think we have those to share. I mean, actually, I'll put them on the screen. You guys here won't see it, but the viewers will see it. But basically, Al, I asked him to come online to do this shaggin' wagon on the 21st of July, 2013, and then Shorewall had to like go to his friend's house to upload his footage because his internet was so bad. So the race
delayed
was
it a couple
delayed in
days,
uploading for like a whole week. So bear that in mind. Now the race
go ahead,
between Muddy and Ratchet 5 was uploaded, and you can see this here, on the 22nd of July, 2013. A full day, mind you, a full day after the Shag and Wagon had already took place. Okay? And the key element of this is that we never saw this race until a day after the Shag and Wagon happened. And then shit really hit the fan. Because I'm watching this Shag and Wagon race, I'm watching this thing, and I'm like, hold on a sec. Wait, hold on. Muddy won this Gex 2 race between you, Ratchet 5, and yourself. Like, he won this race. Why is he in the loser's Shag and Wagon? It should be Ratchet 5 in the loser's Shag and Wagon because the the race itself was a loss, and Ratchet was like, no, it was a draw, it was a draw, it was a draw. Muddy and I decided it was a draw, and this, I guess, is a point where he went over the host's heads here. He went over the host's heads, and we were like, I don't think so. And anyway, that caused a big drama, and of course, the situation being Ratchet 5 was the host of I'm A Speedrunner 1 to 7, had a lot of cachet within the community, and people like Christian were very much on his side and being like, you guys shouldn't like take this away from him. This is his tournament. What the hell are you guys doing? And that caused a big brouhaha. Now, before I open the floor for discussion, I will finish the story here because there's a few more elements at play. So there was actually meant to be a best of 3 series, sorry, between Muddy and Ratchet 5. And that was the second race that happened. It was Muddy vs. Ratchet 5 2. And I think Ratchet 5 had won that race by about 5 minutes. And then we were like, okay, so now you've done your 2. We had the best of 3 series before. Now it's time to do the third race. And what happened? Muddy Maestro had to get his wisdom teeth taken out. And was out of commission for potentially weeks. And so Ratchet 5 was like, well, I should just go through. And then we were like, how about this? How about we actually do the third race, and we'll find a replacement for Muddy Maestro, and the replacement can be determined through a Shag and Wagon, a round 3.5 of sorts. And so we did this Shag and Wagon. It was between Shorewall, the AFH013, and myself. Now, the reason for this is because Shorewall and the AFH013, Al Malloy, had been given 2 chances in the semi-finals. Now, look, you can have a problem with this all you like, but from my perspective, I think it was totally fair to do a triple threat Shag and Wagon and put myself in it. Because A, I lost to Muddy in round 2, and that was a coincidence that I even raced him in round 2. And B, Al and Shorewall had already had their 2 chances. And I ended up winning this race. As you can see, Al didn't even send his footage. He just put in funny pictures of Ratchet 5 for some reason.
I could explain that. I quit very early because I was so far behind. It's the only time I've ever quote unquote rage quit a run where I just you can hear me defeatedly say, "Oh, I'm just not gonna fucking continue."
And there's chat logs between us basically saying, like you're saying, so what is going on with all this stuff, right? This was like in the middle of all of it, and I was saying, fuck, I'm done. Like, and we can't make this tournament go any longer. People are sick of Gex. I remember, like at that point, it was just. I mean, the same. People felt the same in the Super Gex League in ISGP, right? Like Gex, there is a point where it hits, and then you're just like, fuck this. Now, genuinely. I just wanted to quickly add as well, the previous Shag and Wagon, right? This is what proves the point about the draw times being ridiculous and just kind of this is a slant. This is a pro Ratchet slant from their wiki. It says that the Shag and Wagon. It says Crystal Vision won by 20 seconds, but it was not declared a draw, despite the unchanged 26-second draw time, as Crystal Vision and AFH agreed in the speedrun draw that the draw time would actually be 10 seconds, nearing the end of the speedrun when Crystal Vision was ahead. Muddy Maestro and Shorewall were both unhappy with the result, as they did not agree on this draw time, but Crystal Vision moved on to the grand final.
Wait, what?
As we have established, we did come up with a draw time in the video. This was our point where we were done with draw times. I didn't even want there to be 10 seconds. I wanted it to be, you just go through, you fucking win. Yeah. But we made it 10 seconds in that run, right? And that was it. And as a host, at the end of the day, whether this is considered power hungry or not, as a host, that was what we were allowed to do. We were allowed to have different draw times from IAS7. We never specified that we were copying them from 7. There was a time when someone thought there was a draw time with Muddy and Angus, but that was actually you counting down load time differences, wasn't it, Angus?
Yeah. So someone actually brought up that that I was trying to prove that there was a draw between myself and Muddy Maestro in our round 2 race, but that was actually because my Gex copy of Gex 3 or my emulation had like a glitch where
5-second delay.
It was like every time like I would load, it would be like 5 seconds added to each load screen. So I did this countdown timer that looked like I was trying to go for a draw, but actually what it was to show that like even though he beat me, it wasn't by like this massive margin. It was because of my load times. But that's neither here nor there.
Just to say, this is the hard fact of the matter is, to quote Triple H, is that the hosts determine what the draw times are, and that's it. It's not really up for debate, right? Now, the fact that it got to such level of debate is what caused this problem. But at the end of the day, if we said that the draw time was 5 seconds, they were going to be 5 seconds. As hosts, that's what we determined. We were not copying the previous tournament. But I understand why people were up.
Well, classic Triple H quote there. If there's a draw time of 5 seconds, it will be 5 seconds in there.
Yeah.
Classic Triple H quote. If you
were saying, Angus.
So these are like, we put these on the wiki, so I'm not like, these are just, if anyone's like, why are you sharing these DMs? These DMs were actually made public like years ago, so I'm just pointing that out. So this is like a DM between so I won that triple threats Shagwagon. Now, bear in mind, okay, I'd like to point this out too for the record, that we talked about in I'm A Speedrunner 7. When Cypress dropped out of the tournament, Ratchet 5 just went to the grand final, okay? He just went to the grand final. We didn't have to, like, he never had to race anyone else for the right to do it. He just went through, despite not winning the race. Now, and he was host of I'm A Speedrunner 7, and no one had a problem with that. Now, bearing in mind that the race between myself, Showroll, and Al was for the right to race Ratchet 5, which would then be a semi-final match to get to the final. So we didn't make it that I would automatically go to the final or anything. That was not the point. The point was that the triple threat would determine the challenger for Ratchet. And so these are like the DMs, and hopefully these shop okay. If not, I can fix it up. But basically it says, this is what I said. Well, since Muddy is dropping out, and we all agree that 26 seconds is a bit too much for a tie, and also due to the fact that Andrew and Muddy are one victory apiece, I propose that we still have a third match and put me in lieu of Muddy. And this is, by the way, this is on the 25th of the 7th, so this is actually before we did that Shaggin' Wagon, okay? So my original idea was, yes, I would just go ahead and race him instead of Muddy, right? And he's like, oh, come on, no, that is not happening. And then you say, get online, say it in the call, say it in the chat, and he's like, I can't show it here, but it says, yeah, I'm not racing Angus, I'm not giving him that pleasure. And I think that was one of those things too, I'm not giving him that pleasure. It comes across as like a, what do you call it, like, I don't know, how does it come across? As a bit sanctimonious or something. See, I'm not giving him that pleasure.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I don't want to have any more part in this tournament. If Angus gets back in, I'm dummy spitting. So basically, he's like, I'm not quitting, whatever. He actually ended up quitting the tournament. And one of the key dramas with that too was that he quit. And when it came to like wrapping up I'm A Speedrunner 8, we spoke about how if you quit a tournament, you get banned from the next tournament, right? And so Crystal Fisher and I were like, all right, well, we've got to ban Ratchet 5. It's the only way that makes sense. And we were, by the way, I have the evidence. I've got the receipts here, by the way. I've covered my tracks here in case anyone has a problem with this. Check this out. This is, by the way, a video uploaded. When was this uploaded? It was uploaded on the 26th of November 2011, so a year and a half before I'm A Speedrunner 8 happened, okay? And look at this. These are the people in. Banned people, okay? Ratchet 5 himself banned all of these people from I'm A Speedrunner 6, okay? James2667, Billy, Radchan, Salmas Master, Jeremy, Kirby Proud, all these people. Banned.
Bearfister.
For less than what he did, mind you. Less than what he did. These people just didn't upload their races. He quit in the semi-final, okay? And so Crystal Fisher and I were like, okay, well, here's the thing. Guy hadn't run a tournament for over a year. Quits in the semi-final. And, you know, there was no, like, oh, he'll host the next one. There was no next one at this point. It was just,
That's
if
right.
there is one, it'll probably be run by Crystal Fissure or myself, and we'll just ban him from it. And did that go down well in the community? No. And let's talk about the idea. And who wants to come up and to the plate and talk about the idea of
Let's go with
myself
Yoga first.
banning Ratchet 5 from his own tournament series? Who wants to?
That's
Oh, jeez.
Yoga and Connor's were probably periphery, but
Let's go
like
Connor
watching at
first.
the time be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Go to Connor. Yeah.
Well, just in terms of, I think I was going to talk about the hosting first and foremost. The way I look at the hosting with that is basically Ratchet didn't seem to want to do IAS8, so it was kind of a case of, well, if we might, Andrew, Angus, I see that as well. We might as well do it, sure, because they had that interest in doing it, and someone has to do it eventually. That's the thing. Someone has to host the tournament at the end of the day.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think about us banning him from the tournament, though?
I think in terms of like nowadays, like if he set the rule of banning people because they dropped out and they don't have a valid reason for dropping out, looking at it now, he probably can't really have any qualms about being banned because, yeah, you can argue it was his tournament. He started off, I hosted 7 tournaments. Like, that's complete disrespect to me. But at the same time, you have to be consistent no matter who the person is. And you could definitely say that is you were being consistent to the rules. Like, if you drop off a tournament and there is no valid reason behind it, you got to be consistent to it. And you were consistent in that rule by banning Ratchet 5.
Yeah. That's right. Yes, and then that was the whole point, is that we were trying to keep the rules in place. And I find it very rich that if he's going to claim the consistency argument between the draw times of I'm A Speedrunner 7 to 8, that when we try to apply the same rules to him, he doesn't have a bar of it. But I know at the time King Europe 1 was a very big, very big Ratchet 5. He was Ratchet 5 pilled, as we say. I just want to hear your thoughts on the whole situation.
Let's see if this sticks to character, fellas.
Yes at all.
Nothing.
Okay, let's move on to Josh and let Christian collect his thoughts.
Okay, well, it's funny with Yoga Modu because I think you were more like in the middle, trying almost more on our side though. But yes,
I do.
Yeah. It was, geez. Okay, well, there's a lot to unpack because it's kind of funny because I've mentioned this before, but like on a like in chats and other calls and whatever, right? It's like on a surface level, everything that was happening on the outside, like because this was all happening more so on like the inside, like what all that sort of stuff, as opposed to what was being shown on the channel, or whatever, for the most part. So like this was just such a mess because this started trickling in, all the stuff that happening in the background started trickling into what was happening up front. I think in hindsight, I remember I kept getting like DMs specifically. I remember Crystal Fissure was messaging me a lot, I believe, at the time, and he was asking for my thoughts on a whole bunch of stuff. And I remember trying to be as neutral as possible about everything that was happening, about all this like all these like little weird things that were happening, like, oh well, should the host be banned, should the previous host be banned, should they not, should this happen, should it not, whatever it was, right? And at the time I was trying to be so neutral, like, well, it's this tournament, but at the same time it's like, but you guys are the hosts, so I get where you're coming from. So I had that like same opinion that most people had regarding all that stuff. But it's like as Connor was saying, the thing is, at that time, Ratchet was not the host. But I feel like it's important to kind of mention too that he kind of, at least how I perceive things, it seemed like he was trying to be kind of like a third wheel host in a way. Like he wasn't a host, but he was talking with you guys all the time. You guys had meetups and all that sort of stuff. So it seemed kind of like as if he was a host in everything but name, or maybe that's just kind of how it looked. So it ended up just being this like super weird situation, but at the same time, it's like you two were the host. He didn't seem to have any interest in making an IAS8. You guys kind of had complete control as far as I'm aware, and I think how things went with banning him was totally fine. That's how it should have been, and I still believe there shouldn't have been such a big discourse, but at the same time, it's like I could still see why people were so on the fence about it. Like,
yeah, and the reality is the thing that everyone misses that absolutely. But at this point, yes, we did hate each other. Like that. That's not. We won't cover that up. I mean, this had boiled over to a point where he was, trashing us on Skype. We were doing the same at this point. Everyone was throwing shit at everyone, right? But when it came to the tournament, we genuinely, and I stick by this, wanted to keep it to the point that it needed to be. And that's why we had zero problem with him facing the winner. Like it could have been Al, could have been Sherwell, could have been Nintendo 64. We were fine with that happening, even though at that point, personally, it had started to completely, just be done.
Yeah, exactly. As
so,
we said,
we basically...
Ratchet 5 most certainly has the right to make his own tournament, but he did quit IAS. He left Angus, Al, and myself IAS. Clearly, he knew that. Now he's taken IAS9 and said it's his, yet it was his tournament, but no, it is not above the rules he did put into practice. That's, I think we did like...
This video was absolutely... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, cheers. Do you think, though, maybe part of the issue was the fact that it was still called I'm a Speedrunner? Do you think if you had, changed the name or something, I think that was maybe a part of the problem, actually, was just the continuation of the series. Yeah. It was still, you maybe, and I guess, I might as well say, were seen as being temporary, hosts, as it were.
That was just a comment.
Still,
I'm there several times in the comments.
Well, this was back when you had to constantly reply to people because this was the best way to talk to people. So there's so many different messages from the same people.
This is coming from Ada saying, "I'm sorry, but who put you in charge? Was there a vote? Because I must have missed that. You put yourselves in charge because you wanted to. I understand you have the leaving ban rule, but didn't Andrew leave because it was unfair that Angus was put back in the tournament after losing in round 2. I'm pretty annoyed if the rules just suddenly change for no apparent reason. You both have a mentality that the rules don't matter if it's an opportunity to fuck over Andrew." And that's that part.
That's right. Yeah, when you were scrolling for the comments, I was there 1,000 times.
What's worse is that Fissure and Angus broke the rules to allow Angus, who lost in round 2, to there was this whole thing that I apparently was I broke the rule, or we broke the rules to let me race in that triple threat race. But the reason specified to that, and I think it'll be interesting to see if you guys recontextualize this now. But I think otherwise, why would people would not have been mad if we let Al and Bronze have a third race against each other? And the winner of that race, Ratchet 5. How is that any better?
Or Shore Wall at the time.
Would have been way worse.
Then you would have
I was openly hating Gex at the stage.
How many times can we do Al versus Bronze? How many times can we do that race?
Yeah.
I think, in the grand scheme of things, what it all boils down to is the fact that, Ratchet was the host of the 4, 5, 6, and he was the face of IAS, right? So everybody just assumed everything was his in a way. I guess that it was definitely a case of he was the host of all the other tournaments, therefore he 100% has say on other things, despite the fact that he is not the host of this tournament, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
And I think sorry, continue, Josh.
Well, it's just more. It's in hindsight, it's just kind of I think this was such a big deal was because everyone just thought, oh well, it's his tournament and he and we've kind of gone back and said, well, he kind of did these arbitrary things the way where he would ban people or he would he would move people on to other rounds and it didn't make much sense because he was like the face of IAS. He was one of the co-founders of it, the co-creators.
Check this out. This is my favorite comment, by the way, just to cut you off for a sec, sorry.
Ooh, I want to see it.
Look at this. It says, if Angus is okay with it, I'm fine to concede the IES channel. This was after all the backlash. Crystal Fissure and I were like, whatever. Ratchet wins because Ratchet's the
No, let's not push. We don't need to pussyfoot around it. We're completely done with the community because we had videos that had 19, 20 dislikes, even though when we clearly outlined everything that happened perfectly, people still
just had 21 dislikes.
Spewed violence.
I commented.
Yeah, there we go. Right, and people trying to make it like a both sides thing, classic yoga, right? Making it a both side, and we were just so, and not obviously now. I love it, but it was like at the time it was like, this is just ridiculous. Like this both sides stuff is just absolutely infuriating. That's how I felt.
It's so interesting that Josh says you three, as in like me included. I remember at this time I think
I was talking about sorry to cut across. I just want to say I think I'm talking about Ratchet, Crystal Fissure, and Angus.
Oh, okay, grand, cool. Yeah, well, that kind of makes me feel interesting because I think I was panicking at this stage. I remember, like, I was like, oh,
yeah.
Like, you saw the DMs that I sent to you. Sorry, you.
Go ahead and just
I'll just finish this. It says I agree. If Angus is okay, I'm fine to concede the IES channel, but only if people acknowledge the following and not just follow the king. Angus got in legally, and he had to do a Shag and Dragon race. Ratchet 5 specifically didn't want to race Angus. Ratchet knew that he was going to get himself...
Now established.
Yeah, what he was going to get himself into when he quit. Our choice was to run IAS9 was made because the creator quit. We relinquished the hosting when he quit. Finally, Ratchet's motivation for doing his own tournament was to get back at us, which it was, 100%. And, I enjoyed the final of I'm A Speedrunner 8. Crystal Fissure
loved it.
Won and became back-to-back champion. I think... After because Ratchet did take a brief leave of absence between when he quit and the IAS8 final, and we were able to like finish this tournament in a nice way, but it was mired by the controversy. I think this was like probably the biggest controversy in the history of I'm A Speedrunner, and I'll just talk to this too. There's a very I'm gonna kind of open this. I know 2 hours into this podcast, if you watch this far, thank you very much. But Ratchet 5 obviously is not part of the ISGP anymore, and we're not going to get into exactly why he's not, but he's not around anymore. And the reasons for that were laid back in IAS8. They were laid when Crystal Fissure and I took control of the hosting rights and took control of running the tournament, and he was, as Yoga pointed out, very much like a backseat host. He made sort of his own rules about how he thought that he should have progressed through the tournament. It didn't jive with Crystal Fissure and myself. There were some other personal things going on between the three of us outside of the tournament that probably had a lot to do with his mindset at the time. Did I act immature? Possibly, yes. Maybe Crystal Fissure and I said some things in some of these videos we probably shouldn't have said. But at the end of the day, I think it was just one of those things where, at that time, Crystal Fissure and I were the hosts, and for 7 other tournaments, we had respected his decision to run the tournament the way he wanted to do it, but the same favor wasn't returned back to us. And by the time that the community ended, and then I'm A Speedrunner ended, and then ISGP started, and Crystal Fissure and I started that with a completely clean slate, the overtones of the way he behaved during IAS8 kind of leaked into the ISGP, which caused a severe disconnect, especially by the time ISGP 2 happened, and then obviously causing the ultimate his departure from the ISGP community, and I don't foresee a time where he will return, but I think that as petty as it sounds or as weird as it sounds, I think the details of IAS8 are very much the reason why he is not in this not in the series, not in this on this channel anymore, and yeah, I think
and
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes to I'm A Speedrunner 8, you basically put it best. Like, that's putting it nicely, that's putting it kindly, and I think that it's just the way it's going to be, little darling, as they say. What the fuck is going on back here?
Yeah, I was going to say, what is that?
Jesus.
So yeah, honestly, I think in terms of the IAS8 stuff, I would be interested to see. I'm of the firm belief, by the way, that in the long run, I think Crystal Fissure and I were vindicated because
yes,
I think by the fact that ISGP exists, and the existence of ISGP is almost entirely predicated on our hosting of IAS8. Like, IAS8 is the precursor to ISGP. We had the IAS talks, which became ISGP talks, as Christian pointed out. We had the podcasts. We had the manufactured drama and things like that. It was the first time we really had acknowledged the IAS championship as a championship, and we got the classic titles and all that stuff now. There was like a lot of the seeds of this, and you know, and we did the Super Gex League, the first chance we really got to do like a Super League, you know, to pay homage to IAS8, because I know a lot of people might have mixed feelings about it, and that's gonna be interesting when I get everyone to sort of rank the tournaments. But for me, IAS8 is a top 3 tournament in my opinion.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I loved it.
I don't know.
In terms of a pure tournament, I think it's really good. Like, ignoring all of the drama behind the scenes stuff, it was really well run. In very it was like I guess how a tournament I felt should be run in I guess a more modern era. Like, it definitely was the start of it being very proper.
ISGP, right? Like
it really is. Yeah.
I'd like to hear Connor's thoughts as well, because because Connor hasn't got a chance. I think he had a few things he wanted to point out.
Just in terms of the drama that was going on, I remember being sad at the time, because I was kind of talking to both people at the time. I remember being in calls with both parties, and it was disappointing when you were hearing the stuff, and like you wanted to be neutral. You didn't want to be like, okay, I see your point, but I see this person's point too.
Yeah, but because that was both calls too, with both sides. So sorry, keep going.
But like the way I see it, like Ratchet 5 was the host from 1 to 7.
That's right.
In 8, he was a competitor.
Yes.
And now as a host, and he's totally. And look, it's fine if you don't agree with everything a host does. That's totally fine. But you have to respect the decisions. Like as Angus said, Bay respected his decisions for 7 tournaments, so he can surely respect your decisions for 1 tournament.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
There were justifiable things to everything that was done was completely just, in my opinion, it was all justified.
And I think Ratchet 5 back then as well was I think Ratchet 5 was kind of like modern, like had a moderator say, back in that day, I'd say as well.
I think Connor said it best. We put a pin on this and leave the rest to the next episode.
I was about to say, I think we planned
we've said
about
plenty.
The follow-up to this, but I actually think... Yeah, I think we'll talk about the follow-up to I'm A Speedrunner 8 in the next part, I think, because it's a really hefty topic, and I think we kind of, you know... I don't want to gloss over the events afterwards, because I actually think in the next part, we're talking about I'm A Speedrunner 9, I'm A Speedrunner 10, I'm A Speedrunner Invitational Tournament. The real meaty stuff is how did we go from I'm A Speedrunner 8 to I'm A Speedrunner 9? Like, what was the situation at the time? A very tumultuous thing, and I'm actually keen to talk about that. The only last thing I'll say about this, and I think this is like the last piece of the puzzle, and I think it's something that I have tried very hard to not do in ISGP, because I'm kind of cognizant of it, is that there is a perception, for some reason, whenever I do something, I do it to benefit myself or something. I have this kind of like...
only you.
It's only me. It's not Crystal Fissure for some reason. It's just me. Apparently, I have this perceived sliminess, perceived self-serving nature or something where I will make decisions to benefit myself. And look at ISGP. I have kept myself away from like all the titles. I haven't really challenged or gone for any of them. I haven't been in a grand final. I haven't been like in any major spotlighted situation. I was in like a trios situation where I was one of 6 people in like matches for like a long time too. And I think that decision was made because I think the viewpoint was in IAS8, I put myself in the grand final. It was like the if you could really the simplified version.
I'll say to a fault.
What's that?
Oh, sorry, it's lagging out, but like, I'll say to a fault, because like a lot of people are gagging out for more Angus.
Yeah, I know, right? I hear you loud and clear, but the situation was that the simplified version of the story is Angus put himself in the IAS8 Grand Final, which morally upset Ratchet 5, which caused him to quit. that would be his version of the events, and
that's his version of the truth. Yeah,
it's you know
Now-
two sides. There are two sides to every story, and I think the side that we're not telling you is that there were more personal aspects of it, but that is not for a podcast. That is not for a public forum. That is not to be discussed.
Well, you know, we're screaming out for more Angus. We're crying out for more Angus.
It's a little rough though, because like it's almost like we can't talk about things. It doesn't work very well, but it's almost like we really wish probably we could to some extent, but we just kind of can't. It's also it is the past too,
I think people can read between the lines, to be honest, though, on that one.
Yeah,
I think the lads have kind of alluded to certain things which influence the events, and people don't need to maybe know.
I mean, you
anything
can watch
about
these videos
that
because
they
we
have.
do talk about them in them. We didn't hold back in 20,
Yeah.
and that's why I want to kind of like improve the way we discuss this. I mean, I think we've been quite like open and fair, I think, in this discussion, but in 2013 we brought that other stuff into it to a fold, I think.
Yeah.
So look, honestly, I'm happy to leave the discussion of IAS8 here.
No.
Hold on. Crystal Fisher has
There's
something to say?
a couple more key things that are like so important that they're talking about the drama. It's like, yeah, whatever, who cares? The other drama that's far more important is the fact that technically, Hey David won from a perspective of he did his race 5 weeks later and got a time that was about a minute better than mine, or something like that.
Excuse me, technically I won.
Right, I'm going to get to this. I'm going to say because everyone wants to talk about the whole drama, but yeah, these are the key. We're talking about history of I'm a Speedrunner, right? These are key things. Is that we had Hey David get a penalty the first time we'd ever instilled a penalty. Basically because he had all these extra weeks to record.
By the way, I was fuming about the fact that he took so long, and I was
because he took 5 weeks. We gave him a 10-minute penalty because if you look at what we did, right, everyone was struggling super hard on the RNG boss, which is in a call, right? So the whole problem is that him not being in a call, him just being able to do it privately, he can focus, he can get it done easy.
Yeah.
So he was penalized, and he got, I believe, was it third place? I think.
He got third place. Yeah.
Well, I probably should have got third place. I'm just putting that out there. Hey, do you notice that I didn't even come third in the tournament. I was in the grand final. I didn't even win. There you go. Sorry.
Right. Bandy was in the grand final. This was Bandy's one of his last tournaments, I believe. And then, he got.
He beat me in the round 3.
He was good, and then he capitulated in this final. And then the other thing is that the actual best player was Yogamonyo, who was eliminated right at the start. He beat everyone in the grand final. He was playing, but he wasn't recording, and beat everyone by
no point for me to record.
He was the opposite of Bandy,
which is hilarious too. Because for the record, in round 1, the only reason why I didn't progress is because I gave Shorewall another chance at our run because he didn't know what he was doing in his race.
That would have changed everything.
And that could have possibly changed
everything. No,
everything that happens.
Flat out would have changed everything entirely.
Yeah, because all the shaggin' wagons, all the second chances, all that stuff, it could have completely changed if I just didn't give him that rematch in which he won.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know.
So you could just blame me for everything if you really want to, I guess.
At least David pointed his TV, his camera at the TV because he I'm looking at this. At least he didn't record it off like fraps or anything. He actually did it on his console, which is makes it a little.
Which is fair enough.
You also can't see like his actual TV in his room and stuff. It's actually framed rather nicely compared to some other really old stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess.
Sorry, go ahead, Yoga.
The very last thing that I feel like is important to say about IAS8 is just like this really did drive another wedge in the community because as it's probably going to be talked about in the I assume future episode, there was 2 IAS9s.
Yes.
So
we won't talk about that now because
exactly
that's the perfect lynch the hook for the next part, right? There it was I'm a Speedrunner 9 and illegitimate acquisition of speedrunning. No! Which is not, by the way, for the record, not part of the I'm a Speedrunner. I mean, we're talking history of I'm a Speedrunner. That is as far as I'm concerned, illegitimate acquisition of speedrunning is a Me Too tournament. It's a Me Too tournament.
That's right.
It's not part of the IAS history. It's not part of the I'm a Speedrunner.
As I say back in the Crashcast days, save it for the podcast, save it for the next podcast.
That's right. It's a good hook.
Yeah, well,
it's a
there we
good
go.
hook.
So
It is a
I
good
think
cliffhanger.
we've Crystal. By the way, Crystal Fisher won 2 tournaments in a row. Very nice achievement. In the next part, we'll do the final
Only person who did it.
3 tournaments in I'm a Speedrunner. So I'm a Speedrunner 9, I'm a Speedrunner 10, and the Invitational tournament, which Al has a lot to say about. And
And a bit of the scramble too. We'll mention the scramble.
And we'll talk about the often forgot IAS Invitational Scramble too, because a championship scramble, which is a lot of fun. And then we'll do like a wrap up, and then part 5 will be I'm thinking Crystal Fissure of actually live streaming part 5, because I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we'll do the official countdown, the ranking of all the tournaments by committee vote. So everyone will vote here. And maybe some other people who showed up at the tournaments will vote, and we'll do the official ranking. What's the best tournament? What's the worst tournament? What's the middle tournament? We're going to find out. I'm excited. There's a lot of juice left in the history of I'm a Speedrunner. I hope you join us. For Crystal Fissure, for Al Malloy, for Connor David, for Yogamonia, for King Europe 1, I've been Nintendo Gen 64, and as I always say, farewell for now, but not forever. I'll see you later, guys.